Thank you very much. Big Pacific greetings again. Welcome to those that are joining us live on Facebook. Thank you for joining this Pacific Blue Line webinar series, connecting our ocean of struggles and remembering why we sweat and cry salt water. Thank you so much for joining us. Gives me pleasure to introduce the moderator for this webinar, Jacki Leota-Mua, who joins us all the way from Papua New Guinea. Good morning through One Talk. Again, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'll hand it over to Jacki.
Iorana, hello Olgeta, Nisa Bulavinaka, Namaste, Kemni Mauri. Acknowledging all the languages and dialects of our forebearers and mine. O te whaatalofa atu, ilipa ia malimamalu, ile nei au fia. Malo soifua langi mama. It is Samoan Language Week. Whaamangalo mai. As I speak hope into the airways for our country, women. And to our panelists gathered by Joey Tau and his networks of young Salwarans to talk story to Talanoa about our moana. Te moana nui a hiwa. Te moana nui a kiwa. A wasa wasa. And our whenua, our vanua, our mama ground. Inspired by Mama, Dr. Teresia Teaiwa, who still reminds us to reimagine our ocean as an oceanic continent. An ocean continent that is the source of our poetry, our life force, our mana and mauri. She reminds us of the privilege to call this ocean our home. A privilege because our ancestors voyaged bravely and intelligently into the known. It is our home because our ancestors paid scrupulous attention to our environment, paid it respect, knowing that our lives depend on it. But we have not been the only ones to imagine this oceanic continent. Empires saw this great ocean and turned it into their own political images, their conquests and theaters of war. From east to west, today, we are calling the empire out. Blow the whistle on the whistler. Let's end this game, a game still being played because the money is too good. A game that has seen injury after injury. But have we not learned? Are we not listening? If this were a game of rugby, I'm sure there would be so much more interest. But this isn't a game. This is real life. Our lives and the lives of our mokopuna, our pikininis are at stake. And even now, along the Wau Bulolo corridor, here in the Morobe province where I reside, there are women and children involved in what's called artisanal mining with mercury that poisons everything it touches. Wafi Golpu joint ventures are on the precipice of their explorations here, and they say they will dump mine tailings into the Huon Gulf. It appears our food bank is not as important as their financial institutions that operate from clouds high above us. Mercury and associated minerals turn turquoise blue. It is the same color as our ocean. And when the sun rises, my fear is we may not know the difference. Today we start in the east where the sun rises, where the son of Oceania has been fighting long and hard for Te Ao Maohi. Oscar Manutahi TEMARU, former president of the French occupied Polynesia.
Right.
Founder of pro-independence, anti-nuclear political party, Tavini Huira Atira no Te Ao Maohi, arrested and jailed for your protests against France and his service for the people of Maoha Nui. Oscar, you continued to be an active voice and supporter of the nuclear-free and independent Pacific. Iorana Papa. Welcome.
Iorana.
I hand it over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you. It's my great pleasure to be part of this discussion, and some are very familiar faces like Nick, hi Nick, and the other young people from the Pacific. It's very helpful to see the young people to stand up and speak up about our different countries. Because as she said, our Moana Nui Ahiwa is our home, and it's our ocean. It's the mother of our ancestors for years. Our ocean has supplied all sort of either food or medicine or navigation throughout different islands, and there are a lot to learn from this ocean. But unfortunately, as you know, our country is occupied by the French, and which means this country is a kind of occupied country, not only by France, but by Europe, because we have the European passport. So I would like to tell you how much we invite you. You are free, you got your independence, your ancestors have been fighting for that, but we are still like New Caledonia under the colonial rule of France. And I would like to invite you this coming July, the 17th, we are organizing a huge demonstration in our country, and we will invite a representative from the whole world to be part of that demonstration, because we love our country, we love our ocean, and that's the only, should say, treasure to, we had to protect it for the young, for the future generation. It is our duty. And thank you so much for having the pleasure to share this, conference with all of you. Yorana.
Yorana Papa TEMARU, thank you so much. I would like to invite one of our young poets, Crystal, Crystal Selwood Jufa, to perhaps respond by way of poetry. She's also a cadet journalist in Samoa currently. Crystal.
Talfalava. Puriakari. Nauzavo Abundre Crystal Furi Selwood Jufa. Before I share my first epistle, I'd like to acknowledge this space and the matures that have gone before us to set out our mat. I'm honored to share this mat with Oscar TEMARU, a Pacific great, and continue to learn from the legacy of our dear Teresia Teaiwa. Also acknowledging my elders in Samoa, Papua New Guinea, pardon?
Please continue. There's a little bit of feedback, but we're all right. Keep going.
All right. Papua New Guinea and the Pacific. Connecting our struggles of my Susa Theonila in Bougainville, Victor at the forefront. Pardon? Theonila in Bougainville, Victor at the forefronts. Rocklive and my fellow young Samoans, let us be challenged and let us celebrate our struggles. Now I shall read my poem. My dearest children, hear my plea. As days have flown into the orifices of the now, you have forgotten to honor me as your mother. Must a crippled greed hunt your limbless feet, my children? A peril so dawning you see not of my pain. Weep, my tireless weep. The years have come to haunt the beauty that I once was, and as I fight to stay afloating, my organs fail me still. Must you be so silent now? Be not still, my children, you have a voice to share. I gave you wings and a mouth, the teeth of a sharp cry, a heart of stone and a mind of gold. Forget me not, my dear children. Your mother fights a tiresome war, to thrive a tailless spine of unwanted poison. Beware, my children, this cancer I fight, and I fight for you. Though if you must know this cancer grows, I cannot bear to fight alone. I write to plead with you, my children, cry for me. I'm slipping away. Strong I am not, but forgotten and neglected I feel. Summers that glazed my gleaming face and rains that gave me youth are now painful to touch. Weep, my tireless weep. Though the shores are now sour and my lips of salt, forgive me, I still fight for you. But a time has now come where you must fight for me too, like the waves that count the tides and to the mountains who wait the sun's touch. This kinship of mother and child and children to grandchildren, grandchildren to the ground. I ask you to spare me the poison I still bear scars of. Thrifting, sifting, and unchanging winds that once strengthened me are weighing heavy on these shoulders I carry. Voyages once brought fruit, my children, yet so sweet, so benevolent, the fruit has been poisoned. I call of caution, my children. I plead to live. Must they sail to open my slowly shut wounds and retouch my broken scars, my bones so frail, my time stolen? Hear my plea. Now that I write without voice to a croaking hand, you hear me now. I have my hopes written in the grains of sand. You have forgotten who I am and therefore forgotten who you are. Have you ceased to watch the tree bend a narrow bend? My estuaries, a treasure you have gone blind. Fear not of what must happen, but will come. I write that you raise your voices, stand beside your brethren and fight this fight. I call for I see not. I cry that one day it could be the way it should be. Weep, my tireless weep. Reconciled with the forest beneath your feet, a day where you and I become one again. I once told you, my dearest children, that I'd protect you still, but the time has stripped my bearing arms, my children, I bear to stand not. Might I take the time to remind you the beauty you once knew is losing its ties. And for you, my children, a thought, a cry, a hope, can only keep me alive. I've stretched a bed of deep comfort for you across 1,000,000 stars under 1,000 skies. So abandon me not, for I am you. And for you to lose me would be to lose you. Sending my love, your mother, Megale. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Faftaitele Lava Crystal. That was wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for that letter from our mother. I'm going to introduce now Honorable Theonila Roka Matbob, a girl who grew up in the shadows of the Panguna mine and the civil war in Bougainville. Theonila is the second woman parliamentarian to win an open seat in autonomous region of Bougainville and serves as a cabinet minister. She continues to fight for the rights of her people and has led a lawsuit against the mining giant Rio Tinto. Good day, Honorable Theonila. Is Theonila, our Susa, here with us this afternoon?
Oh, hello.
Hey, welcome. Good day, good day.
Good day to all of you. And I am so excited to be part of the panel this morning in commemorating both UN Decade for Ocean Science and Sustainable Development and the World Oceans Day. So thank you very much.
We are looking forward to your sharing a little about Bougainville. Talk story to us, Susa.
Yes, well, there's many of us in the Pacific may be aware of it. Bougainville has its own fight within the Melanesian region and as a Pacific island. We have a very long history of political, social, economic abuse that happened in the best interest of corporations that continue to affect the little people and all of us as in the region and as a Melanesian family. Well, and the different experiences that we have with our land and our people went through in Bougainville has actually divided us because of the love of one thing, which is money. So deep within us, you know, that the people of Bougainville would want to see freedom. Freedom from all the different injustices that we experience for political reasons, social and economic, and most of all, for the love of other people's profit, especially in the interest of the corporations. So, like I would say, if you are like here in the Pacific region, if you're a person who is rich in resources, you simply become a target to the nations or the corporations who use multi-million-dollar packages to impose control over you. And that's the story of Bougainville. It's very much a practical story, which I would love to share with all the young people in the Pacific, my fellow panelists, viewers, and all the young activists who are standing up to defend what is rightfully ours. Given the story, I'd like to pay my tribute as well to our former president, Oscar TEMARU, Teresia Teaiwa, sorry, excuse me if I don't pronounce your names right, but your story, your work has reminded us, young people in the Pacific, and has inspired us to reimagine and embrace what we were blessed with. So in the experience of Bougainville, being that I come as a person from a matrilineal society, I define land and ocean as just us, like we are the land, we are the ocean. And if I am the land and I am the ocean, then why do I say what I say? And why do I believe that land is me, ocean is me? It is because my whole being is developed from the food that I take from the land. The water I drink runs on the land. The food that I source comes from my ocean. The air that I breathe is produced by the trees that grow on the land. Land and ocean are an inseparable part of you and me as Pacific Islanders. Ignoring the significance of guarding your land and your ocean is like peeling off your own flesh and remaining as a skeleton, which symbolizes nothing but poverty. And in Bougainville, that is the story. And in Bougainville, specifically from where I come from, that is the struggle, that is the reality people continue to live in. Bougainville's experience in the last 17 to 30 years with the coming of development under the guise, coming of mining under the guise of development, has actually dug away the land and destroyed the rivers and left me and my people on nothing but the rocks. Viewers, organizers of this important event, and interest youths standing up against the injustices that's happening to our ocean and our land. The aftermath of destruction is nothing but pure poverty of the mind, heart, and soul. And more so, it is the poverty for the unborn generation. And that is something where no one will put a better explanation to, even in the event that Pacific does not rise up against the pressure that is coming from the outside. Given all this judgment, as a child growing up in this kind of destruction, I decided to stand up and advocate for justice and advocate against any forms of mining. As a young person, I compared my life with other young Bougainvilleans, Papua New Guineans, and I've seen that if it was not for the best, if it was not for the interest of the corporations, I would be enjoying life just like everyone else. I would have healthy harvest. I would have fresh rivers to swim and refresh myself. I would be walking in God's created forest. My people would not be crowding the health centers or the services because they will be breathing fresh air. This is not the case for my people, simply because of the economic invasion, which benefited the corporations and their shareholders. And those of us at the receiving end have become nobody but victims. And we will be victims for the generations to come. The mess was created, the mess was left behind, and my people and I continue to live with the destruction, which is now a health crisis. It's now a human rights issue, and it's happening before the eyes of the companies, the eyes of the government. So what can I do? The best thing that I can do for my people, those that have gone ahead fighting for justice, those that are living now, and most importantly, the unborn generation, is for me to continue to raise my voice, to demand justice, and that justice has to prevail. So young Melanesians, young Pacific Islanders, if land and ocean is part of you and part of me, if land and ocean has been feeding you and bathing you, Your life as an islander depends on the might and productivity of your land and your ocean. Responsibility now lies on you, whether to break that intact relationship your ancestors, your foreparents, your mothers and fathers, and now you're enjoying. And if you, and are you willing to stand up against those that walk into your shores, your highland, to profit themselves, and they use money to do nothing but divide you and divide and detach you from your connectivity and your relationship with your land and your ocean? This is the question that I will leave with all the young and uprising guardians of our ocean and our land. The pressure is now coming into Pacific because there is hunger in the corporate world. Young Pacific Islanders, as a young politician, a young mother, and a young advocate for justice, I would not want to see another Bougainville in the Pacific, where thousands and thousands, in the case of Bougainville, 25,000 lives were laid fighting for justice. And I would not want to see that happening in another parts of the Pacific, where the people will be divided by huge sums of money that will be used by corporations to divide you against each other, so that when you fight, they profit. In Bougainville, I continue to stand as a lone voice demanding justice on behalf of my 1,000 people who are living with the aftermath of what was termed as development. There are thousands of people who are hungry as I am speaking, though there are thousands of them who are permanently thirsty, who are mentally confined because they have been detached from their mother, the land. While I continue to join you in your fight to protect your ocean, to be the better guardian, I also call on all the young people in the Pacific, in the Melanesian region, to join me and to stand in solidarity with my call for justice for Rio Tinto to come and address its legacy issues on Bougainville, so that there can once and for all be a solution set forward, so that the unborn generation can somewhat be born into an environment that can be felt secured. And that is not the case as I speak. Viewers, organizers, my fellow panelists, ladies and gentlemen, let's protect our land, our rivers, our forests, and our ocean, because they're inseparable parts of you and I.
Powerful. Thank you so much, Theonila. Thank you, True. Thank you for your voice, for being an activist advocating for our ocean and land, and for the challenge you have set before the young people to stand up. Thank you, True. I would like to, I think Victor Pickering is in Panama. He is not able, the connection is not so good that side of the world, but he is with us, an environmental activist currently on board the Greenpeace Rainbow Warrior, the third one. He has been witnessing deep sea mining explorations in the Pacific and is calling for a ban to protect our oceans. Victor is unable to join the session, but he does send his solidarity, his greetings, and he's available on chat as well if you need him. But Joey will be playing for us a 2-minute video that he would like to share with us all this afternoon. Thank you, Joey. Hi, all. Sorry, was there no sound in that one? Apologies, some technical issues. Aroha mai. But we'd like to turn it back to our poet, Crystal Juffa, to respond. Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you. My second poem is called Changing Winds of Summer Gray. And the tides came crashing thunders of polymer greed. Mr. Corporate Man saw a stream of income as he pounded his bare chests. He stood a vast stance, pointing to the horizons beyond the tomorrow of the indefinite coming. He yelled to the skies. Must it rain? Rain in abundance of wealth, to breathe in a new finger heart. There washed near the shore later a frail future. What shall our children grasp, if not a future of teething ignorance? He grew twice the size the global fleet. A dead silence grew in the hearts of many. Silenced by his temporary gleam and attracted to a tomorrow that would be bare, crippling voices that lived unborn, he cradled a hope in digging deep. He begged the earth to give him more as he grew tiresome of what he already had. Hunger grew in him like a virus that disabled his humanity. We must, we should, we could, became we can. Eventually, leaving the earth a naked skeleton of what once was a paradise, now a graveyard of hope. Baptized.
Awhitaitele lava, Crystal. Awesome. We are going to replay the video after we've heard from our last panelist, Rockliv Poloso from Choiseul in the Solomon Islands. Rockliv leads a movement of young people against extractives such as mining in his province. He is also part of the Young Salwara Pacific movement based in Honiara. Hello, Olgeta. Hello, my friend. Hello, Rockliv. Welcome, welcome.
Hi, hello. Hi, everyone. Hello.
Hi, and who's your friend next to you?
I'm at home, so that's my son, actually. Very insisted to be around, so don't mind.
Fantastic. New generators.
Yeah, it's a concept of the future. It's all we've been talking about, so I'm happy to be here presenting. And I think thank you to everyone, the panelists, and Bang and the team for inviting me to share today. As an introductory, actually my name is Roka Poloso. I'm from Solomon Islands, and my province is Choiseul. So I've been to the network being for my involvement in mining related issues. So what I did is, yes, that's 4 or 5 years back, we did a campaign on the extractive industry against a company who does 7 years of prospecting in the Solomon, in my land where I came from as well. So we did a good fight. We did media campaigns. We did petitions to the government, and we ended up with a good conclusion whereby that company actually gave up and leave our land and left. So it's a two-way story whereby people might say, oh, you take away development, but our concept is basically about our land is actually our mother. So when you kill our land, with the small islands, it's like you're killing your mother. So that's the concept we went through. And I think I've been there with the whole history of networking with Peng. I came in touch with Peng, Joey. I think that's one of the years back in 2014, 2015. I got interviewed with Radio New Zealand, but Joey from Peng also met me here in Honiara specifically for that campaign time. So I've been part of the Young Solwara, and I share the same concern story. So I've heard about the Ocean Day today, and it's been awesome to be part of this story. So my purpose mainly not to talk more on whatever, but I'm gonna read the Ocean statement for Young Solwara. So I think let me start. So awesome, thank you guys. So let's start. So as I reflect and share the call of Young Solwara, Pacific and the collective during the United Nations Ocean Conference in 2017, it calls for a recognition of the Pacific storied history as stewardship of the world's largest ocean. As we soak up the sharings from the seasons of connecting and reconnecting our oceans of struggle, we acknowledge the test of time that our region has withstood and commemorate those who are endured and withstood nuclear testing, a period in history with ramifications that are still felt by our oceans, lands, and people. We remember this period as being a time when our oceans and our people were utilized as guinea pigs by foreign powers. We acknowledge the issues posed by both and present the Pacific faces, and we firmly refute the narrative that we are actually victims. We are victims. We stand tall as the next generation of Pacific Islanders who shall also thrive on the sea of our islands. We stand on the shoulders of the giants who went before us to make a stand. The challenge for us as Pacific leaders and actors is to play a stand against genocide. We, the Pacific, must not allow a reputation of colonialism. Our peoples have suffered greatly from the destructive programs of materialized colonial powers during the 20th century and continue into the 21st. The legacy of nuclear testing through Oceania, in particular the Marshall Islands, French Polynesia, and elsewhere, has never been effectively remedied or addressed. So, the consequences of detonating hundreds of nuclear bombs of a much greater destructive power than Hiroshima or Nagasaki atomic bombs are still felt greatly today by our people, manifesting in, among other impacts, rehabilitating health and intergenerational maladies. This legacy continues to threaten not just people and our ocean, but the health and well-being of the planet's oceans and the people who depend upon them. Henry Kissinger, in response to nuclear testing in Marshall Islands, is quoted as stating, "There are only 90,000 people out there. Who gives a damn?" In response, we say, we are still here. We are not going anywhere. Cactus Dome on Ronit Island is a testament to a history of experimental and the violation of our people's fundamental human rights. Our oceans have still not recovered from the destructive acts of world wars, nuclear testing, and continued military maneuvers. Intensified efforts must be made to demilitarize the oceans and to clean up the existing mess. As we Pacific clamor for international action to halt carbon emissions and desist from environmentally degrading activity, let us therefore be the change that we wish to see in the world. Today, there are There are parallels to be seen in the advent of extractive industries such as deep sea mining. It's an issue that our Pacific government are still toying with. The discussion on seabed mining has proceeded narrowly for the past 30 years. There are not been inclusion of our people's voices or much thought as to the inordinate risk in operating an unrest extractive industry in a fragile and almost completely unknown deep sea mining environment. We are once again faced with the same situation here, foreign influence seeking to utilize the Pacific for their own means. Our ocean cannot yet again be used as an experimental test bed for an activity whose full environmental ramifications are still not fully known. We cannot allow such a reputation of experimental that will again affect our oceans and our people. The Pacific has withered the test of time. Over the millennia, our people have not simply survived, but thrived through the bounty of our ocean. With the advent of human-induced climate change, the ocean that has nurtured us for millennia has now become a threat to the existing of our islands. Our land, ocean, and people have historically been used as guinea pigs to fuel the greed, defense needs, and convenience of foreign entities. The advent of deep sea mining is simply another evolution in the history of greed-fueled economic exploitation and a callous disregard for the environment and human life. We, the people of Wansawara, stand firmly opposed to militarism, environmental degradations, and the violation of our human rights. We are Oceania, Yumi Wansawara, we are the Sea of Islands. We must not allow this history to repeat itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Churoklev. Thank you so much. I thought before we play the video, I was going to open it up to Papa TEMARU. Please, we've got a question. If you could respond to what is your key advice, sir, to young emerging leaders who are taking on the struggle? Papa TEMARU, what is your key advice to these young emerging leaders who are taking on the struggle today? We would love to learn from you. And perhaps if not immediate, maybe Joey, we can play the video and then give Papa TEMARU some time to respond. And then we will open up the floor for questions and comments.
Okay. My name is Victor Pickering. I'm an environmental activist. I'm from the Fiji Islands, and I'm here on board the Rainbow Warrior 3, bearing witness against the devastating impacts that deep sea mining will have on our Pacific Island countries. I'm from Fiji, so the ocean for me is everything. It's the source of food. It's a mode of transportation. It takes us around the islands, visiting families. For us, the ocean is one. I feel that Pacific Island people deserves to be heard, that we should not support deep sea mining. We need the ocean for our food, for our climate, for our marine biodiversity. We want governments to come into an agreement and make it the Global Oceans Treaty to protect the oceans by 30% by the year 2030. If the ocean is the blue heart of our planet, we and the sea are its lifeblood, and we cannot let deep sea mining destroy our symphony. Please sign the petition.
Nakvalevu. That was awesome. Second time round. Thank you so much. And we're opening up the portal now for questions, comments. Please raise hand and let's get talking. Let's start this talanoa. I know we have some representatives from Rambi, Banaba, Dr. Kati, if she's still here, Teaiwa. We would love to hear from you.
Mauri, Jacki, and come to Mauri, everyone. This was wonderful. It was really amazing to hear from all the speakers, and thank you so much to all of you, the organizers, for honoring my late elder sister, Teresia Teaiwa. It's really wonderful to see her words, her ideas, and her legacy continue to influence and impact the work that you're all doing, and activism in the Pacific, and underscoring those connections that we have to the land and to the sea. When I was listening to everyone, probably the most profound thing for me was how the work that the speakers are involved in, and the protest action and the concerns are all related to mining, different forms of mining, and the impacts of mining. As some of you know, Banaba was mined from 1900 to 1980 by Australia and New Zealand and the United Kingdom. And so one of the arguments that I've constantly been making in my work is that the past matters, that history matters, that what has happened before shapes what is happening today. And mining has one of those long, enduring, profoundly negative impacts on our land and sea. And often some of our leaders, some of our communities see mining as some pathway to economic development, I think, as one of the other speakers mentioned, but it really isn't. And so we really need to rethink the kinds of paradigms that we're living in today, and learn from the past experiences of those who've been impacted by things like mining and other forms of extraction, nuclear testing, so many things that have happened already in the Pacific. And the other thing I try to remind people about is that climate change and the kinds of actions that we are now involved in over climate change, and the critiques that we're leveling at climate change are not disconnected from things like mining. They're all part and parcel of the same kind of extractive industrial impact on our region. And all of those things are connected to neoliberal economics and to just the kinds of things we've accepted economically, socially, politically, along with modernity. So it was really, really amazing to hear people talking about belonging to the ocean, belonging to the land. Sometimes when we talk about these things in academic contexts, people think we're trying to be romantic about our environments, about our Oceania, and that is not the case. We feel these things deeply. And my sister's words and her work are all about feeling those connections deeply. They're not theoretical. They're deep, and they're also practical and pragmatic, I think, as our colleagues from Solomon Islands and Bougainville mentioned. So these values and these ways of being and knowing and doing are wonderful. And I really appreciate how much all of you shared about it. So Kambasin Rapa Vinakavaka Lebusara, it was a privilege to hear everyone speak.
Napalevu, that was wonderful. And just in terms of practice and the practical issues, we have an anonymous attendee asking about, from our panelists, about safety and what risks are there, exist out there, and how can we better support your safety in that space. That can respond from the panel, please. Vanessa, please join us.
Sorry, hi. Just listening to the question. It's a question regarding risk and safety of concern about the environment in the future, or it's something to do with relation to work and a company perspective. If the question can be rephrased, or how do we look at it to respond?
I think it's about keeping safe. It's come from Tina Ngata, and she's asking, how do we keep you safe in the work that you do out there, practically on the ground? What do you need from us? What would you like to see from us? How can we assist?
Yes, I think from my own perspective, as my view, I would see that in the world today, it's been getting harder to continue on being trying to be concerned about the environment and people, and we understood that it's getting less and less of people who have to be in front and speak out or whistleblow out. I think we all rely on blessings and the very paramount concept that we speak for the truth, and naturally somehow protected. But I think it's safe to say that we always talk on issues that is a concept for most leaders. We're trying to do policies, regulations, whatever. But I think for us, it's good to keep positive and encourage the young people to keep speaking out. But I think naturally what we speak for is it's silently in the hearts of the many indigenous landowners and the people who can't speak out. So I think that's my take on safety and risk. We take the bigger risk in saying that we talk about the big money firms, we talk about the big investments, telling them that, sorry, we don't need you, but they need the big bags and the big profits and big money. But in terms of safety and way forward, I would agree that we are so safe that we fight for our own people without any payback, without any money related compensation stuff. But I think that's awesome, and we should be proud of where we are. So I would encourage everyone to keep the vibe, and we acknowledge all our outgoing people to stand tall and talk, and we do today, and we encourage again the future to continue. I think that's my take on the question. Hopefully I'm answering some part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We have one other question. How do we work with our governments to fight against the destruction of Pacific environment? Panelists?
De topara te mea era tota slot machine.
Ja, dat moet ook. Dat slot
Thank you, Papa TEMARU. We would love to hear from you, please. Please.
Yes, to be very brief, just to remind, our Pacific Ocean has been used by those different countries for nuclear testing, either in the atmosphere or underground in the sea. And that radioactive fallouts are still there. And we, the people who lives in the Marshall Islands or here in Maui, we support the consequences from those nuclear testing, and we've been telling to the world the truth of all those years of nuclear testing. And lately, let's say a couple months ago, a book, which is the Toxic, was published, and it has done a huge, big noise in our country. So that's why today, while we are talking, there's a round table in Paris, because the French government has invited all of us to go to France and to know the truth. And we refused to make that trip to Paris. We said no. You know, while they were preparing the COP21, maybe that was the year 2010, you read the report, there's nothing about Morurua and Fangataufa. It was organized by the French government. So the French government keep lying all the time from all those years. So I'm talking about the French government, and the other government, superpower, did the same, we know. So we, the Pacific Ocean people, we have to be very careful. And it's a great pleasure to see you, the young generation, to stand up and keep telling to the world that how we cherish our Pacific Ocean, our home, our mother, our paradise. So that's my message. And to remind you, this coming July the 17th, we are organizing a big demonstration in our country. And we have invited leaders from all over the world. And we also invite you to join us July the 17th, demonstration against the colonial power of France and the system colonization of our country still there. And in New Caledonia, it's the same. That's my message. And I cheers all of you.
Thank you, Papa Oscar. We have Michael Henao. Are you there? Michael, would you like to present your question to the forum, please?
Thank you very much, and Dina Tubunamana to all of you. Michael Henao here from Port Moresby in Papua New Guinea. I just had a question for the panelists. Our former Secretary General for the Pacific Island Forum, Dame Meg Taylor, warned against further division amongst our island leaders and the dangers that that could bring if they do not stand together and work together against non-Pacific influence. As we know, at the moment, there's a geopolitical challenge going on between two of the world's major superpowers. And I think Dame Meg's message to all of us was warning against further division in our forum and on our mat, if you like, from cause maybe brought about by these bigger powers than us. So my question to the panelists is, are you concerned about the impact of the divisions in the PIF on the work that you do to protect our region and its resources?
Thank you, Michael. Just waiting for any panelists want to respond to the work of the Pacific Islands Forum and the divisions that have existed.
I think, Jackie, if I may, sorry to just jumping, but to respond to Michael's question around the current divisions and the outgoing SG's concerns about a divided region or the external influences, I think we could draw back on past experiences where the Pacific has come together despite our diplomatic relations, either be it with China or with our traditional partners, Australia and New Zealand. But the past has showed us some great example of regionalism that the Pacific had led. The Rarotonga Treaty is one, and we can draw back from those experiences. And I think just connecting to what Carter had talked about on some of the works that have been done in the past or experiences in the region that we could really learn from. Theonila sharing around Bougainville and countries who are now pursuing deep sea mining exploration. We could look back on some of these experiences in Papua New Guinea around mining in Octedi, and maybe it could inform our way forward. With regards to regionalism, I understand the Northern Pacific has made their stance very clearly, but I think there are opportunities, be it sub-regionally, be it or at a global level, that the Pacific can come together and be united. One of the very great examples is the current climate battles that our Pacific leaders are united and are fighting for. So there are past experiences that we could learn from, and there is hope for a united Pacific Forum.
Thank you, Joey. I just note that Ena Manuireva, you've got your hand up. Would you like to, please, the forum is yours.
Is that Ena? Ena? Oh, yes, it's Ena.
Yorona Tatu Pa'aloa, Bulavanaka, Malolelei. My name is Ena Manuireva, and I just wanted to tag along with what Oscar was saying earlier. I come from a small island called Mongareba, which is roughly 400 kilometers away from Morurua and Whangataufa. So we were talking about why do we sweat and why do we cry salty tears? It's exactly because those tests has been imposed upon us, the nuclear test I'm talking about, for 30 years. And when our dear Metua Oscar was talking about those tests, we were the first people on Mongareva to have been contaminated in 1966, 2nd of July. And this is a kind of testimony that I wanted to give to all of us in the Pacific. For me, the way to make sure that the government listens to us is for us to go out there in the street and protest and march and manifest our discontent for acts that have been perpetrated in the Pacific. It doesn't matter, whether it's in French Polynesia, in Australia, in the Marshall Islands, Bikini. Those acts have been perpetrated by a colonial power. And this is what we need to do. We need to go out there on the street. As Oscar was saying, on the 17th of July, they'll be doing their protest, the Pacific, as a pacifist, protest outside to tell those colonial power, in this case, France, to come and clean the places that they have polluted, because this ocean of ours will be polluted. In some years, we've noticed that Moruroa might just collapse, and underneath you got plutonium in Moruroa. Plutonium will seep out under the coral reef and then go into the sea. So that is what we need to do. We need to go out there. I will be out there from here, from New Zealand. I will carry my banner. I will show myself there and tell the government to make a stand, whether it's in New Zealand, in Australia, in Paris. If we get all together, all our force or strength together, we can make a change. And that's how we can make the government notice us and do something. If we stay as we are on a Zoom, that's good. That's a good platform to prepare and start a movement. But what's happening is it has to happen outside on the street. So that's only what I can say in order to make the government, if you want, especially the French government, the English, American government, accountable for the act that they have done in the past. We need to go out there. So I hope that some people will be joining us on the 17th of July in Tahiti, but we in New Zealand will be doing it on the 18th of July to synchronize our movement, which is roughly to remind people that's the biggest nuclear test, the biggest blast was called Centaurus, and it contaminated over 110,000 people in Maohonui, French Polynesia. So that's my call to all of us who are present here. And I have to thank the organizers for this Zoom, but hopefully the government, all those governments will notice what we are doing. So thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope we can carry on this discussion. Thank you. Maruru Pulavanaka. Tēnā koutou.
You heard it, guys, 17th of July, or the 18th if you're in the other side of the timeline. Joey, how are we doing for time? Theonila has had to send in her apologies, and she she's got another meeting and she has departed. I think it might be time to farewell us all.
I think we can leave it open for a few more questions, reflections, maybe some reflections. I understand Tamani has something to share.
Tamani, please share with us.
I guess Tamani is finding it hard to connect. Maybe we can move on, Jacki. Those who are participating, we also have Josiah who's just raised his hand. Josiah, would you like to share something?
Thank you, Joey. Thank you, Jacki, and His Excellency President Oscar TEMARU, and to all the panelists. Thank you so much for the sharing this afternoon. I would like to reaffirm the message from the young girl from Bougainville, the fact that we are connected to our land and to our vanua, especially with the Fijian culture, where you have totems that you have the fish, the various totems that we have that connects us to our vanua. And that's something that we need to take into account, that deep connections that we have with our vanua, with our sawasa, with our moana, and our young solwara. Thank you so much.
Nagvalevu, Josiah, thank you. The peace movement Aotearoa, Papa TEMARU is looking for a link that we can share, that can be shared for that protest in Aotearoa on the 18th of July. That'll be great if you could forward it to us.
We'll make the link available. We'll get in touch with Oscar and the young people, Hey New, to share the links and information in lead up to the Pacific demonstration in solidarity with our brothers and sisters in Maui Nui. Also noting there's some links, some resource materials that have been shared. You can find them in the chat box. We will be happy to email to everybody after this webinar.
Inaka Joey, I think I'm cooked.
Okay, I think that brings us to the end. Jackie, over to you. Would you like to wrap it up for us?
Just a big warm thank you for everybody to participate. Arohamai, if there's anything done today, forgive us for any wrong. This is our way. We must apologize for our lateness. Arohamai, fatmangalomai. For the words of our young people, sometimes, you know, to our elders, forgive us. But I just want to give a big thank you, Joey, to you and your young Salwarans for incredible work. We've heard some great stories, some empowering testimonies. Navalevu, keep up the amazing work, and we'll see everybody on the 18th. Try and figure out how to do it in lay.